Christine. How's everything going?
Everything's great. Everything's great. I'm happy to be having the conversation today.
So let's start with the basic. Why did you join Kappa Alpha Theta when you were at Alabama, right? University of
Alabama,
Alabama.
yeah, roll
Yeah.
tide, University of Alabama. I was a student from out of state. I came from Massachusetts and thought it would be a good way to meet people. I went to the university on a scholarship. I was a National Merit Scholar, full ride at Alabama. And I knew nobody, not one person. I think I knew the tour guide that showed me around in the spring before I showed up in August. And she was the one who said, you should think about going through Rush, which is now recruitment. And I think it would be good, even if you don't join a sorority, just meet people during the week. It's a week before school starts. I think it would be a good thing for you. I fell in love just almost immediately. I thought, these young women are doing service projects, they're in the community, they're smart, they had the highest GPAs on campus. And I said, I think I could fit in here very, very easily. Why I chose Theta? On campus, they were known as the smart girls. So that was an automatic attraction for me. And they seemed very down to earth. I needed I needed to know that I would be comfortable with the
Mm.
group of women that I was going to associate with for not even just 4 years in college, but beyond.
Hmm.
Yeah.
All right. So inquiring minds want to know, how
hmm
did you get to Alabama from Massachusetts?
Well, it's a funny story. So my dad was a huge Bear Bryant fan.
Ah.
And he said, you can go to school anywhere you want. You've got the grades. You've had a lot of scholarship offers. Um, but I want you to take a look at the University of Alabama. It's a beautiful campus. I think you would like it there. It was the warm weather that I was looking for. And I said, okay, I'll take a look. I had no expectation that I would end up there. I was doing it as a favor to him. Well, I landed on campus in the spring of '83, a week after the bear had died. And
Mm.
just that experience alone and how people talked about him and talked about football and the traditions, it just really felt like home when I got there. And I flew home because my parents didn't go with me. I went with my aunt, flew home and said, I think this is the place for me.
Mm.
And the rest is history.
Cool. And
Yeah.
but wait, you're in a house divided, right? Your husband is an
Yes.
LSU guy?
LSU and my two daughters. Yes. So I am outnumbered 3-1.
Oh, wait, so both of your daughters went to
Both,
LSU.
both of my daughters went to LSU. They are both Greek as well. Yeah.
Ah, why did I think one of them went to Alabama?
No, no. Well, she got an offer. She got an offer for 4 years and
Hmm.
an additional year of grad school. And she turned it down. She wanted to go to LSU.
Okay.
I tried. I tried. But she is my Theta sister. So I got
Okay.
I got that.
Okay. And then the other daughter,
The
is she
other one
Theta
is
as well?
Zeta Tau Alpha.
Ah, Zeta Tau Alpha. Okay, got it, got it, got it. Now,
Yep.
what about your husband? Is he Greek?
My husband is ATO.
Okay, all right,
Yep.
very
Yep. So
cool.
we're a full Greek family. We have that in common. Yeah.
Ah, that is really cool.
Yeah.
Now, what would you say is one of the biggest things that you learned from your membership in Theta?
I learned that no one opinion is the end all be all.
Oh,
You have
wow.
to learn to work as a team. You have to collaborate. I went into it thinking I knew everything. I got good grades. I was in organizations in high school. When you get to college, it's a little different. There was that culture shift going from outside of Boston, deep South, different
Hmm.
traditions. And so I had to listen more than speak. And really, that was helpful,
Was that hard?
especially,
Was that hard for you?
it wasn't. I'm not a
Okay.
big talker to begin with, but I think, just realizing, as a leader, you have two ears and one mouth. And it was just a good lesson to understand that there were different opinions.
Yeah.
And I didn't have all the answers, and I needed to listen to other perspectives. Yeah. So that was
Um,
very helpful for me.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I wish I
Yeah.
learned that when I was in college. That was that was a hard one.
Yeah. Yeah. I learned early on. Yeah.
So, sorority life at Alabama at this point is pretty much legendary, thanks to the
Yes.
documentary Bama Rush, and thanks to social media.
Bama
And
TikToks. Yeah.
yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
it has a lot of pop appeal. But realistically, for you, what are some values um, that you believe should be highlighted for the public? Things that people don't know if they're just looking at documentaries and social
Yeah.
media.
I would say, what I brought up earlier about scholarship, having the highest GPAs on campus of any organization, sorority women have the highest GPAs. So that is emphasized. Also, the philanthropy, the community service, the amount of money that is raised by those
Mm,
women is unmatched. I mean, there are nonprofits that would not believe how much money those young women are able to raise. And I think that doesn't get highlighted enough. And they're doing really good work. Um,
mm.
they're putting in the hours, they're asking for sponsors, they're following up, they're stewarding donors. I mean, very much, the life that I lead now, running a community foundation. So yeah, there's a lot that goes into running those houses. And not only that, they are running a house, they're running a business.
Yeah.
Employees that work in those houses that they are managing, they have a budget.
Hmm.
Running a small business, and it's not so small.
Yeah.
If
Yeah.
you've ever seen the houses now at Alabama, they're huge.
Huh.
They have large budgets.
There's a talk that I do with Greeks. It's called Give Till It's Built. It's a philanthropy talk. And one of the things that I find that they are grateful to hear perspective about is what it means to give with intention.
Hmm.
And so it sounds like a lot of the sororities at Alabama, it sounds like they've kind of unlocked that, especially if they do stewardship, actual
They
stewardship. I know,
do.
I know
Yeah.
for you as a philanthropy
Yeah.
professional, that has got
Yeah.
to be impressive.
It is. It's very impressive. And they have a formula that they use. And each year they have a new chair in charge of philanthropy. So, somebody may bring in a new idea, but they still follow that formula because they want to be successful.
Mm.
They even treat it like a competition.
I was going to
Everything
say
is a
they're driven by
competition. Yeah.
competition too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, they do. So it's good training for them to understand why they're doing it. Our national philanthropy is court appointed special advocates, CASA.
Oh yeah.
And the chapter is very committed to the work that CASAs do.
Wow.
Yeah,
Do the members tend to stay connected to CASA even after graduation?
they do. I know I was. So
Mm.
I was on the CASA Jefferson board for close to 6 years before Katrina and then following Katrina. And it's always been an organization that I've, contributed to financially and given time
Hmm.
volunteering. So yeah, I know, and I have a lot of sorority sisters that do work with CASA.
Mm.
Yeah.
You're listening to Ethocast. I'm Eddie Francis, and we're talking to Christine Briede. She is the president and CEO of the Jefferson Community Foundation, and she was initiated into Kappa Alpha Theta at University of Alabama. And I was really curious about the lessons that Christine has learned from her sorority experience. And what would you say are some of the values or some of the habits that you have carried from your sorority experience into your career?
I would say just meeting order, Robert's Rules of Order, having that structure and organization, the governance piece that sometimes is lacking. I know a lot of volunteers kind of fall into a gray area with that, but I've always loved that part of leadership, knowing bylaws, following the bylaws. You have these rules that you're supposed to adhere to, and that's carried on. I'm volunteer with some other organizations, and I'm usually the one that they ask, well, what should we do? You seem to know what the right thing is to do. And a lot of that started in college in Theta.
Hmm. And it's so funny for fraternity and sorority members. A lot of us we take things like Robert's Rules of Order for granted.
Right.
I remember, your buddy, my wife Halima. She
Yep.
was the vice chair of Tulane's University Senate, and she she said. And she said, I have to get a Robert's Rules of Order. I got to get a book. I said, no, I got one right here. And
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
she went in and she said she said she couldn't believe how many times it was a lifesaver,
Mm-hmm.
to making sure that things were organized, and making sure that people's opinions were properly heard, to make sure that votes were properly done and things
Exactly.
were organized. And I just, it's interesting to me how sometimes I've sat in meetings and I'm going, this is a mess. We're not going to get anything done
Yeah. Yeah.
because
Yeah.
everybody's just doing everything. And I'm going, whoa, whoa, whoa. Do we all understand what we're about to vote on?
Right.
And that
Yeah.
seems to be one of those skills that you bring from
Mm-hmm.
fraternity and sorority
You
life, just
do.
making
You do.
sure that everybody understands the goal that we're trying to accomplish, even
Right.
in a simple meeting.
Yeah, it's that roadmap that you need so that we're all on the same page and that we all know that we have a voice, but we have guidelines as
Mhm.
to how we can express our opinions. Otherwise, you'll have meetings that go on and on and on with discussion when, let's just call a vote, right?
Yep. Yep.
Or,
Yep.
or do we need to table this because you don't have enough information and bringing it back in. I do that with my own board as well. And sometimes I'm like, okay, I'm not the board chair, but, I'll kind of lean over and whisper and say, do you want to end the discussion, or do you think we need to table this vote and move it offside? So that's helped a lot. It's helped some of my leadership in my role now understand they can say that,
Mm-hmm.
and they
Mm-hmm.
should say that.
But isn't it sometimes just it saves your sanity, and sometimes it even saves the organization from making a big mistake when you table a vote, and then you
Yeah.
send it back to committee, and the
Right.
committee has got to figure this out, and
Yeah.
then
No.
the
Yeah.
the
That's
committee
where.
comes back with something more definitive and something that
Yeah.
makes sense, and you're going, great,
Right.
now we can vote
Now
on
we
this thing.
can. Now we can address this
Hmm.
properly. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I can't tell you how many times I've seen a group of people in an organization. I've seen it happen in higher ed a lot,
Right.
where folks will they decide they want to vote on something. There's not a procedure being followed in the committee meeting,
Hmm.
and then the vote is done, and then everybody goes, "Well, wait a minute, what did we just vote on?" And then
Right.
a big mistake just happened, and
Right.
now it goes out to the university. It's a policy, and everybody's going, why did we do this? Why was so yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. it's
Yeah.
it's it's interesting how underrated Robert's Rules of Order can really be for a lot of
I agree, and I
situations.
consider myself kind of a nerd when it comes to. And I even have some cheat sheets, some short cheat sheets that every board that I've ever chaired provided to my board members and said, we're going to use these. This
Hmm.
is your cheat sheet. Just, it's not the whole book, but the main things that you should use. We're going to be respectful of your time. And that's what I kind of bring it out to. This is your time. You're
Hmm.
volunteering. So
Yeah.
I want to make the best use of your time. And then everybody gets to say what they want to say. but in a concise way.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And the dog agrees, by the way. You
Oh,
and
good.
you and Halima can nerd out together about that
Yes.
because she was doing the same. She was making her little Rob's Rules cheat sheets.
Woo.
And she was doing all that good stuff when she went to those meetings. So
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
I provide, as a board chair, I've provided those to my board members and said, there you go.
Yeah, little did we know this was going to be an interview about Rob's Rules of
I
Order.
know, huh?
So
I learned it in college and in Theta.
yeah, and it's working for you. So
It is.
let's look a little bit more broadly. Looking more broadly, um, do you feel that there are any fraternity, any sorority or fraternity values that are needed more than ever? And when I say more broadly, let's just say in society. Even if you wanted to say, you know what, in the community where you are in Jefferson Parish, are there
Right.
any values that you say to yourself, I'm so glad I learned this, but I really wish everyone else could learn it as well?
And the first thing that came to mind was civil discourse.
Yes.
So it's so needed today. Well,
Mm-hmm.
every day, but now more than ever, that we allow each other to be civil to one another in disagreement.
Mm.
And it's so needed.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
needed. And that was part of, the training as well for
Mm.
conducting chapter meetings, that we were not allowed, we had to frame everything in a positive way.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
that's how it was presented to us. So if we were going to say something that could be construed as negative, we would have to, in our head, frame it as something positive.
Yeah.
And that really makes you shift your thinking. And I've just carried that with me all
Yeah.
these 42 years of being a theta.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
I can only imagine how many women said, this makes no sense. Why can't I just say what I want to say?
Say what I want to say.
And now it makes a lot of sense.
It does. It does. Because you can get your point across without being ugly,
Mm-hmm.
without name calling, without, we wanted everybody to remember that we were sisters first
Yeah.
and friends second. So there comes an added responsibility to being a sister.
Mm-hmm.
If you're family, you need to respect one another, and respect means listening. And you have to do it just in a very caring way.
Yeah. Yeah.
Concern. You have to have concern for your sisters.
So I had a conversation with a speaking colleague of mine by the name of Tish Norman, a member of Alpha Kappa Alpha. And something that came up in our conversation was modeling brotherhood and sisterhood for everybody else.
Yeah.
Um, the more respectful we are to one another, the more people are going to hear that respect works,
Hmm.
and respect gets more done. And
Yeah.
and you can disagree all you want with each
Right.
other's views, ideologies, or whatever. But if you're at least respectful to one another,
Yeah.
if you at least show some level of love to one another, then that spreads to me. I think people
It
take a look at
does.
that, and that's one of the signals that people who are not in fraternities and sororities, that's a signal they can take from us that could really
Hmm.
benefit a lot of other people. So it's interesting to hear you bring up almost the exact same
Yeah,
thing.
absolutely. Because when people tell me they're in a fraternity, in a sorority, I know that they share values that they bring into their everyday life. You
Hmm.
don't, and I mentioned this earlier, you're not in that fraternity or sorority for 4 years. It's literally for a lifetime.
Yeah.
You bring that through your whole life. We socialize as alumni. We raise money for our philanthropy as alumni. We raise money for our scholarship. We have a foundation that distributes over $1 million every year to our members. So we bring that through our whole life. So if you're just in it for the 4 years and you're just in it for a party or a good time, that's not, you're missing out on so much more.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I told my
So,
girls that,
mhm.
when they wanted to join because it was fun and they could, go to parties and formals and all the fun stuff, but they really put in the time too, became officers and tried to get more out of it. And they're both really grateful that they did.
Mm, mm. So I'm going to hand you one big microphone right now, Christine.
Okay.
What's something that you would like to impress upon today's fraternity and sorority members for their future?
For their future, I would lean into relationships with your alums because a lot of that will be helpful to you as you graduate, as you get into the working world and you make your way. You're going to realize those connections will take you far. And it's because of those values. I think you
Mhm.
have to really, really lean into that, but also respect their position because a lot of times the relationships that you have with alums is in a kind of mentoring or advisory role. And sometimes you think they don't know what college life is all about. Why are they imposing all these rules and regulations? And I think you just need to understand they have that lived experience.
Yeah.
You do not, as an 18, 19, 20, 21 year old, have that same lived experience. So to, just put a value on that relationship with your alums, I think really is the best thing that I can tell you. And also, if you're considering membership in a fraternity or a sorority, go for it. You can always quit if you don't like it.
Hmm.
There are many ways that you can get involved on campus, but it's a good way to learn more about yourself, learn more about a philanthropy that your organization supports, learn more about other Greek organizations. We're more alike than we're different.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's, because we do have a lot of the same values, and these organizations were started so that you could have a meaningful experience in college.
Yeah. Yeah. I actually did a talk at Farmingdale State College in New York. Um, and I'm standing here. I'm a member of a Divine Nine fraternity. There was
Mm-hmm.
not one member, not one Divine Nine member in that room.
Yeah,
They were all IFC, NPC.
yeah,
And
yeah,
I remember thinking to myself, what am I going to say to them that is going to be relatable? And I'm like, let me just do my thing. And
yeah,
almost everything I said was relatable. They came to me afterwards and they said, "Thank you so much because now I understand. I get it. Thanks for just getting a lot of pressure off of me and helping me understand what leadership could look like and what I
right.
need to do." And I was really happy to hear that. And that was the moment that you just mentioned.
Yeah,
Being more alike than we realize.
we are more alike than we are different. And, the sooner they see that, the better off they
Mm,
are. Yeah,
mm. And I mentioned their future. So let me adjust that question a little bit.
yeah.
What would you like to impress upon them for the future, for a broader society?
They're the future leaders. So we need them to step up and, like I mentioned about civil discourse, to be those voices of reason and want to take on those roles and, want to lead companies, want to lead nonprofits, want to be in public service. I speak to a lot of college students, and right now they're not thinking that they ever want to be in public service. It's not. It doesn't look
Yeah,
very. Uh, it's not appealing to them. But we need them. We need their skills. We need their energy, and I have a lot of faith in the next generation. I've seen it in the high school leadership class that we have with our high school juniors and seniors. They're bright, they're innovative, they want things to change, and I have a lot of hope for them.
Mm,
I
mm.
want them to take that step and put themselves out there to be leaders because we need it. It's desperately needed.
That it is. Christine Briede
Yeah.
is the president and CEO of the Jefferson Community Foundation. Christine, thank you so much for joining me on Ethocast.
Oh, it's been a pleasure, and it's good to see you, my friend.